Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ESL One New York at the Madison Square Garden Theater. How's everyone doing this morning? Great? Awesome, you guys. We have 8 of the best teams from around the world that qualified from 3 different regions: America, EU, and of course the China qualifier. And with a new patch and some mixed up teams, I think that this tournament is destined to be a Dota 2 great. Now we've got over $100,000 on the line, and of course, rights to call themselves the winner of ESL One New York and the ESL One trophy, which stands behind me. One of these coveted teams will take home this prize and of course, this trophy as well. So I have one simple question for you guys as we get into game number 1. Who's ready for some Dota 2? That's what I wanted to hear. Let's introduce our first teams to compete here in quarterfinal number 1 of ESL One New York. Ladies and gentlemen, they beat Newbie 3-0 to win the incredibly stacked Chinese qualifiers. Give a very warm welcome to Vici Gaming. And of course, their opponents battling it out here in quarterfinal number 1. They were one of 4 teams to make it through the EU qualifier, and certainly fan favorites. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Navi! These 2 teams are about ready to do battle, but before we head into the game, let's send it over to the T-Mobile expert desk and check in with our expert analysis.
Thank you very much, DJ Wheat there on the stage. I'm not an expert. Obviously, that's why we've surrounded myself with a bunch of experts and Milk here on the T-Mobile desk. I did do it this time, I'm sorry.
I'm an expert now.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been an expert your whole life.
Well, at something. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what. All right. I'll figure it out.
We're going to get into this game very shortly. It's a great way to start us off, VG versus Navi. 2 very different teams, Malk. Talk to us, for the guy at home that's not really familiar with what's happened recently with patches and what have you and team changes, talk us through.
I mean, I think Navi has the most to prove right now because they've been in sort of a slump and they really need to shake that off, and there's no better team to do that against than Vici Gaming, the team that has been dominating China to get into this tournament, as DJ Wheat was saying. So I think Navi is definitely the underdogs, which is weird for me to say. If you look back at Dota 2 history, calling Navi an underdog is...
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, new team lineup, obviously there. Number of players changed round.
They've picked up some of the best talent from the CIS companies. Okay. FNG and, of course, Vanskov, one of my personal favorite support players in the world.
Yep.
And I think those 2 have definitely brought some great play to the team, but it seems as if they're possibly lacking some leadership. Is probably where I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, at the weekend, how did you assess them? Because I don't want to be mean to them, but they look pretty poor.
I don't know. Some say they were about to take a game off of Secret before it was made into a draw, so I wouldn't count them out just yet. But of course, Vici Gaming is quite a formidable opponent. So I'm still going to go with Vici Gaming being the clear-cut favorite.
Okay, let's take a look at Vici Gaming's lineup right now and take you through it. It has some star players. I think this is the only way we can say this. And DJ Wheat pointed out on the stage that these guys came through a ridiculously stacked qualifier. We know the quality of Newbie. We know what Invictus Gaming can do. And these guys steamrolled the whole thing. Why?
That's a good question.
Okay. Can we get some experts to the desk, please?
They were on a really hot streak. And
yeah.
I had no idea that Black was going to go to China. I thought he was going to go to Europe for sure, but I think Black adds a lot to the team, and typically he's in the farming role. That's his aim.
And he's one of the best, right? I mean, he is insanely
He
good.
was one of the best, but he shifted roles to just an active killer. He plays heroes like Slark very often and just goes around the map like crushing people with his farm.
Yeah, but you could say that was his big weakness before.
That he just farmed.
He only
right?
farmed and he only focused on farming, and now that he's found this way of also killing people and contributing in the early game, that's where we really see him come into his own. Because a lot of people, as you were saying, they called him the European Burning. Burning, of course, being the most legendary Chinese carry player. So with Black stepping it up, I think that's probably the road to success. It's still surprising, though.
But do you think that like the way the game has changed with the current patch? Because if you think about the patch we saw at TI4, where it was about push and there wasn't much time to farm, someone like Black who's really good at farming and then dominating, do you think that that meant that he couldn't do that, and now with the changes he can, and that's one of the reasons they're so strong?
It's definitely...
He also got two of the best supports in the world to actually assist him, and help him getting his farm. I'm pretty sure FY and Farron know how to create space for a player like Black. And now that he adapted, because he didn't have that much space, with the teams he had. So he had adapted to a more aggressive style, and now it's the best setup for him right now. He has the support. He knows when the game is hard how to shift to a more aggressive mode. So I think that Black fits perfectly in the team. And I really wonder, how do they communicate, because they obviously speak Chinese and he's German. This is amazing to me.
You just need a chat wheel and pings. That's pretty much it.
We sometimes struggle to adapt, with European players. So he's with Chinese team and he's German. It's really impressive.
Famed for his gold acquisition skills, but actually prefers playing gankers like Punch.
But that's something we saw in his previous team in China, that he actually played Punch with great success as well. One of the most notorious Pudges in the world next to Dendi.
I remember Black telling me, man, Pudge is not an aggressive hero. He's the best late gamer. I get so much strength and then they can't do anything. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he actually proved it. He proved it wrong. So.
Okay, let's talk about FNG on Na'Vi. It's some would say an unusual pickup.
It's some big shoes he has to fill. I mean, he comes in, he takes on captainship after Poppy. He joins a new star team. He's been playing in Power Rangers before this.
Yep.
And so not only does he join one of the most prestigious teams, if not the most prestigious team in the world, he also has to captain them.
Captain a team that's been losing also.
Yeah. So there's probably the biggest shoes to fill of anyone in this tournament.
All right, time to put you guys on the spot, because as experts, we expect you to perform a certain role, and that means that you have to get the winner right on all of these games.
Well, you brought Seb back.
Well, I know he lost all of them and he was completely hopeless.
I'm here to actually give you a hint of what's going to be the right call. You
so whatever he picks, pick the other one.
Exactly.
Good tip for you at home. There was 0 right, sorry, at Frankfurt.
Come on, I had one. Right?
Really?
He went with my prediction once.
Yeah. Oh, he did, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's start with Pyrian Flax. Na'Vi or Vici?
I've said Na'Vi EU, but specifically because everybody else went for
okay, so
hang on. Even though I said Vici Gaming will win the whole thing, I'm playing this like a gambler and I'm hedging my bets. And I was actually going to take a bet for anyone who wants to take a bet for $5 to see Secret unbeaten throughout the tournament. I would take that.
Right, all right, okay. So he's gone with Na'Vi, but for no scientific reason. Ben?
I think Vici. I think these two teams' playstyles very similar. Right now there's like a trinity of Dota. It's like 5-man push, split push, with 4 protect 1, and then there's like the map control, lane control, and gankers, and both of these play the latter one with the map control and gank. And Na'Vi tends to fall off a little bit more towards the late game. They're like a more evolved version of the mouse that we saw at Frankfurt. Instead of dropping off at like 20, it's more like 30, 35 inch, and they just don't seem to win late. Whereas Vici, they continue their power curve all throughout the late game.
I think Vici Gaming is going to take it. I don't think it's going to be... it's going to be close games, actually. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory. I think Na'Vi is going to really push them to their limits.
So on that basis then, Seb, what do you pick?
Here's what, I'm going to pick Vici because Na'Vi abandoned me for the last 10 tournaments. And I was like, I'm going all the way Na'Vi. I knew it was going to be hard, and then they lost. They got crushed. So now I'm going Vici. Sorry, Na'Vi.
Wow.
Just surprise me, and I'm back to being your biggest fan.
Okay, so I think I've gathered something from this. Basically, what Seb's going to do is, because he's fourth in line on the desk, he's going to wait for everyone else and then pick exactly what Melk has picked. I'm pretty sure that's how this works.
You're the man, Melk.
Solid plan.
Oh, okay.
Solid plan. All right, let's check out how you voted at home, because you've been voting in your droves right now, and it's 61-39, so not quite as clear-cut as the desk here. We've got 3-1.
That's a 2-1 victory.
That's a 2-1 victory.
Yep.
Yeah, see, now it's gone for the prediction of the score as well, and I think that might be a bit lofty, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Any final thoughts on what we might see in the draft, which is incoming any moment now?
I think we're going to see a Panda ban. I think that's the one thing that's a staple in how Na'Vi goes about it.
What do you
Don't
think?
go out on a limb there, Jacob.
Wow, the desk has got feisty already. No, genuinely, what's changed majorly for you guys in terms of the patch, in terms of just the draft?
Not much, actually, if you look at the pro teams. I mean, there's of course been this addition of some of the stronger late game heroes, but in terms of early game, I don't really feel like we've seen much of a change. There's some more Vengeful Spirit picks, and it's a hero that Na'Vi especially likes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Vengeful Spirit appear. Yep. But generally, I think it's going to be two teams who pressure each other a lot for the first 15 minutes.
What's going to be interesting is that those two teams, they draft different heroes, so they're not going to steal heroes from each other. So Na'Vi is going to get what they want, I think, and Vici too.
Yeah.
And we're going to have really a clash of play styles. And it's some other matchups, heroes are going to be really hard to call who's going to get it first. But in that case, I think it's going to be different.
Okay. Melina, you did a great recap of all the changes in the patches. What's the biggest one for the pro guys to cope with? What's the hardest one?
The hardest one? It's more so the glyph change, I think, to the T1 and like the overall bounty, but those don't really affect these two teams at all. So in terms of things that affect these two teams, I think Wisp actually picked up a decent amount. Some of his partners got buffed up a little bit, and that might be a hot point of contest.
Yeah, No-Tail's particularly been playing very well on Wisp.
Room control throughout this entire tournament.
Yes.
Room control and mid heroes with bottles is what we're going to see a lot of. I think we're going to see more bottles, especially even on offlane heroes, because of how runes are now more available. There's two of them obviously spawning with the bounty rune. So I think this is where all the focus is going to be, especially from the supports as well, even from before the creeps spawn, because you want to secure that first rune.
Some drafters might even draft for that, just how can I secure myself a win in the rune fight.
Okay, draft number 1 is upon us for ESL One's first quarterfinal of the day, live from Madison Square Garden Theatre. It's almost, I can't even believe I'm saying the words that are coming out of my mouth, that we are actually experiencing esports at the Garden.
Yeah, I think the bans are very straightforward so far. We see the Bat Rider ban. Na'Vi with Phonic on that Bat Rider is always dangerous, but we've also seen Na'Vi ban Bat Rider in the past. And then, of course, Skywrath Mage's still far and away the most favorited support. Yeah,
Bat Rider is definitely a top pick, top ban now. It came back really, really strong, just because of the way the hero works, in my opinion. Taking fights 5 versus 5 now is very risky, and Bat Rider is a hero that allows you not... Actually, you can come if you break from behind. You can always get pick-offs with Bat Rider, so you can come back with the bounty system. And if you're leading, you force them not to fight, because you kill one guy first off with initiation, and then they don't want to fight being behind 4 versus 5. So,
do you guys think the change to the map, the way that the Roshan has been moved around, the jungles changes, has that changed whether people consider Dire to have an advantage over Radiant, or is it still pretty much the same? Is it now completely even? Nobody cares.
No, I feel Dire is still favorited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the map change has done that much to change the better side of things.
The thing is that even though Roshan is still, you can it's much easier to go into Roshan when you're Dire, but taking a fight in Roshan now is close to impossible, honestly. If they have slight AoE, you're going to lose it. Even if you're Dire, even if you went there, it's a trap. So I think it's actually more even, the Roshan part, but I would agree with Mac, it doesn't change much.
I actually prefer the Dire side bottom now. I think that's even better for Dire side now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the way you can now gank the lane from the Dire side of things. I really like that change.
It's funny because they're taking a lot of time to actually ban the second hero, so they might be discussing, but they're just discussing together. So
it's interesting. You brought up earlier on. I mean, communication during the game is kind of like a sixth sense sometimes between great players, but picks and bans, they actually have to communicate. So how is he doing that?
I mean, pointing at a hero or just saying it.
Like I am when I go to China. Then when I want to eat, can I have that one, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I can't actually remember any of the Chinese names for the heroes, but it's not that hard to learn. A year ago, I knew some of them, what the Chinese would refer them.
Yeah, how long has Black been over there for now?
He's been there for.
He must have learned some.
Like over 6 months now, right? Maybe even.
I think
it might be a year. Even.
Yeah, you'd imagine he's probably picked up some.
Yeah.
He's put some at TI4.
If you're playing Dota day in, day out with Chinese guys, how could you not learn the language?
Yeah. I used to play a game with Swedish guys, and I now know every swear word in the Swedish language.
Yeah, I know some good ones.
Yeah.
I'll hold those back.
Let's not go there.
No, don't worry.
Let's move on very fast.
It's very easy to refer to the heroes, though. They always just call it by like 2-letter names, so Skywrath Mage is just SM.
Right.
And then so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's more surprising that they take this much time, really.
There might be a remake maybe or something. I'm not sure, because I think they banned nothing. It must be because the time for the ban is over.
No, I think you're right. I think we might
Yeah, I see. That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Might
because that's a
have to
really
get a
long time.
remake.
It's a next level strategy.
The Ice Ice strategy. I don't ban anything. He used to do this at TI2.
But now they're trying to mind game Ice with its own strat.
Yeah.
Well, there is a referee with the Navi side of things, so maybe there's some technical issues.
They might have.
First game of the day.
Yeah, they might have balls.
Well, we get him out of the way,
Yeah.
first off.
I wanted to ask, I've done some homework, but I can't remember seeing how much Vici has played Panda in the past. Is there even reason for Navi to ban it out against him? We know Navi doesn't play Panda at all.
They usually don't. They usually prefer like Death Prophet for Super.
Yeah.
Death Prophet's probably their go-to. But Panda not so much, surprisingly.
What do you...
Super is a great Panda hero. Panda is a great superhero, though, for Super. It's a superhero for Super.
Did we change games? What? Superheroes? Oh, okay.
Superheroes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought we'd like break out Superman or something. What do you... I wanted to know what you guys thought of Spectre.
I think we're going to see it in this tournament.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily between these two teams.
Okay.
Possibly, though, with with Black wanting to take more of a killing position.
But
Spectre is one
that
of
suits his style, doesn't it? I think
Yeah.
Spectre, because then he can farm away, join in with Haunt. I mean, on the pub games, the sort of level that I'm playing at, we bump into him all the time.
Yeah.
Spectre is like dominant.
It's horrible. I get it. I mean, you almost pick it because you didn't want to play against it.
Yeah. Or we pick it, wait till the game starts, and then repick it.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, since the new patch, it's gone through the roof. I mean, it was already good anyway on public servers. We didn't really see it much in pro play, but back at the weekend, we did see it across the final in all the games, I think.
I think it's definitely going to be picked.
Yeah.
Question is if these two teams favor it. I don't know. I mean,
Is it
More so
not
Vici than Navi.
is it not one of those heroes that's easy to kind of stop getting into the game early though, because it's not particularly great at farming, and you can kind of put pressure on it, and then it doesn't become relevant until far too late in the game. So if you're almost picking an early game, you know,
the good part about it is that when you go into the late game, he can actually continue farming the lanes instead of sitting in the base, just because of his ability to, like, when the enemy starts pushing, you don't have to TP home, you don't have to worry about when the fight actually
It's like old school
starts.
Coddle PO with the recall.
Yeah, exactly. So he can really optimize the time that you have for farming. So I do feel he's got an edge over some agility carry heroes.
definitely viable in this.
Yeah, definitely. Also, like, his item progression can vary a lot. Like, you can get away with even just going a straight blade mail on him and still be worthwhile in these early engagements, whereas most other agility carries don't have that option. I mean, we see Mask of Madness and Faceless Void, but really, how many other agility carries can brag about having a 2k gold net worth item that can change the fight around?
That's true.
Drums.
Drums.
It's a good stat item, but it doesn't really...
It's good for Spectre. That's the thing. He can do everything.
Oh,
He
yeah,
can tank,
that's what I mean. He can
do damage.
Exactly.
You have two styles of Spectre, right? You have the Vanguard Spectre Max Dispersion, where you just want to deal damage. When they focus, you just deal damage. And the Fighting Spectre.
Yeah, don't
with the
tell Ben
Phoenix
about
drop.
Vanguard.
Yeah. Oh, the Crimson Guard.
What do you think about
Treads
those
drums.
What do you think about the Crimson Guard thing?
I've seen it mildly useful probably once.
Yeah.
But
No, I think it's much better than you give it credit for.
Yes.
no, I think it's very good,
Oh,
but
okay.
just no one picks it up.
Yeah.
I've seen it a lot actually in public games, and it's really, really effective. It's really strong, honestly.
But in competitive, it's almost non-existent.
And it's always a surprise effect with those new items where you don't really know how much tankiness it adds, and then you just go into the fight, and then you realize that, well, but it's a bit too late, the fight is over.
I mean, it's particularly effective in public games where everyone wants to play a DPS hero.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's a good item. It's a 0 mana cost, so it's viable on many heroes. That's something that has to be mentioned.
I think it's interesting that they made that change to Vanguard because that it builds into something. Because I know they'd argued about it for ages about Vanguard just being like a dead end. And this is the beta tester guys that I talk to them a lot about the game because I like to know what's in their mind. And one of the things that they said was that they thought that it was an early payoff, that you made that early sort of sacrifice of money, if you like, to get that early advantage of a Vanguard, but nobody did because it was like, well, I'd rather just get something else. So making it build into something, I think that's really clever, and it's made it actually worthwhile. I bought Vanguard now for the first time. I
think there's like too many exceptions though. Like, doesn't block Death Prophet Ghosts or something like that? If it did, it'd be amazing. But
Yeah,
it doesn't block, like, you know.
I don't actually know.
It does.
There is stuff it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's been patches before this one where Vanguard was pretty good. I mean, we've seen Navi, the very old Navi, in the early days of Dota 2, where they would go Vanguard on up to 3-4 heroes,
Yeah,
just
it was a
really
nightmare.
continue.
What was different about it?
I don't know if anything was different or it was just a meta game that sort of dictated that 10 minutes in, if you all just finish Vanguards, there's no way the enemy can kill you. Like sustainability and just staying around after they fired off everything they got.
Was that before? It was before sustainability, like Soul Ring was really popular. So
It was actually before, it was after Artstyle left the team, but you would think that it would be while he was on the team back then.
The thing is that while you're waiting to finish your BKB or any 4K or 5K item, goal-wise, then they just have their Vanguards and they force the fight, and you cannot take the fight, and they won't let you finish your item. You know what I mean? So it can really be a good, item to get before the game actually starts for the enemy.
Yeah.
Is there a hero that you've seen? I know it's only been a few weeks, obviously, but is there someone that you've seen where you thought, okay, yeah, didn't really figure that one, didn't think that was going to come out, or are there heroes that you'd have expected to have come out already that you haven't seen?
There's one. I don't know if you want to say it now, just because it might, if any of the teams are listening in on this. But Medusa is probably one I expect to see a lot this tournament from some of the teams.
Yep.
So
game is remade.
Oh, there we go.
We are back
that's
with
interesting.
bans. That's much faster. What do you know?
Vici actually banning out the Death Prophet.
I would expect a Navi too. That's more clear cut.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a little strange.
So far, Void is still available. So is Terrorblade. It's a hero we mentioned, obviously, before that tournament. It's in many...
That's the Terrorblade.
It's a big addition for sure, but we're not quite sure if the team... Okay, that's a Terrorblade.
Yeah, it's
so never mind. Not from that game.
Oh, that's the Brewmaster.
So Void is still out. I mean, Void was nerfed, but not really the big nerf that people could expect. Void is still viable. And in early Enchantress, that's a very surprising pick that we haven't seen from FNG yet.
Yeah, it actually is. And this tells me that they want to put on a lot of pressure early on, and especially dominate the middle lane, not allow this Panda to snowball.
There's only a couple teams that run Enchantress now. It's like Alliance and Newbie run Enchantress like a decent
From
amount,
time to time, yeah.
Navi,
everyone else is like...
Navi US used to, but then they lost their Enchantress player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still very rare to see in 6.82.
Definitely.
The thing, the major problem I usually encounter when I draft Enchantress, for example, is that it's really weak level 1, right? So you cannot take a 5-on-5 fights in your woods, for example, and usually the enemy would just come with 4 sentries and wards and just block the whole jungle. So it forces the Enchantress to rotate in the enemy's jungle, which she can't do if she doesn't have any support because you don't have a creep yet. So it's really... When you announce a pick like this as Navi, it can be worth it for Vici to get actually really strong heroes early on to just block the whole jungle for Enchantress. And
it depends though. If you have a lot of ranged heroes, and she does have that slow ability, so you can kite them around for an early first kill.
You can.
She's not completely useless.
She's not completely useless, but if you're going to face AA heroes like this, that just... And then you lose your old jungle, it's a nightmare to play as Enchantress. So that's the only thing I have in mind right now for Navi. It's a bit risky, but as you said, they announce a lot of pressure.
Sorry, go on.
One thing we often see from Vici Gaming is that they pick 2 support heroes that really, really complement each other a lot compared to a lot of other teams. They really, really go for these synergetic heroes like Lesragon and Shadow Demon is something we've seen often from FY and Fenrir. And whereas other teams focus a lot on just getting 2 strong supports that can sort of do the job throughout, but not necessarily synergize well with each other. I mean, one hero would be Rubik. It's not necessarily a hero that goes well with anything in particular. It's just an all-around, very strong support hero.
Okay, so Crystal made us.
CM.
4 picks, and already we have 2 that were really hard to predict. Obviously, CM is really good versus Enchantress because of the Frostbite now that just kills Enchantress creeps instantly. So it's a good support to get, and I think that's the main answer right now that they have for Enchantress. It's the CM, but yet again, it's a very squishy support, so it's a double-edged sword in my opinion.
Yeah, as you were saying, Frostbite obviously completely nullifying any aggression from the Enchantress early on. The only other hero that could do something similar would be the Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
With his paralyzing casks.
So Seb, you were talking earlier about how you feel like Faceless Void wasn't nerfed enough, and Razor, he got hit a little bit harder than Faceless Void, but he's still picked up in Faceless Void.
The thing with Razor, it's that it was the Aegis respawn on the ultimate, so the Eye of the Storm do not respawn when you respawn with Aegis. But besides that, I feel like the hero is still very
and a nerf.
Yeah, that's true.
And minimum damage on his plasma field.
Was it big enough though, the nerf on Static Link?
It's bigger than Void, for sure.
But when you go up in a one-on-one lane, especially against a melee hero, Static Link is still going to win you the lane.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Boots first, baby.
It might be a Razor safe lane, in my opinion, here, because Navi when you play Enchantress +1 and you're going to roam a lot, then you have to make sure your safe laner doesn't get crushed while you're away, else it just nullifies any aggression you're able to put on the enemy. So when you have Provost with Razor first and just getting some boots or whatever they can give him in the first 2 minutes and then let him crush his one-on-one, it's a really good matchup with Enchantress. That's why they got the 2 heroes right now. They're going to be looking to roam a lot.
Well, I played in a sort of, a completely amateur tournament recently, and we lost every single time that the other team got Razor Viper. If they got Razor Viper, it was just, that was it. We lost the game.
That was more 6.81 though.
No idea how to beat it. This was in 6.81.
Oh,
yeah. So that's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6.82, he's easier to deal with.
But he's still, I just hate him. Like, either Razor or Viper in lane. I don't know.
It's a nightmare.
I mean, one of the changes that also affects both Razor and Viper a lot is the change to mechanism. And also one of the reasons why Vanguard might start to become more popular now, because a lot of people in the very early days actually went Vanguard on Viper. And even Razor, despite the fact that it's sort of counterintuitive because of how Vanguard works on ranged heroes. But then people started going mechanism on it, and they got much more bang for their buck in that investment.
I love this pick. Ogre Magi, it's probably one of the strongest heroes.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the flavor of the tournament.
The multicasts, at first you're whining, you're like, how can that guy be so lucky? But when you check the percentages, it's multicasting all the time.
Yeah.
This hero can do so much damage. He can take down the Panda by himself almost if he gets lucky. And if he gets Aghanim's, then it's just a nightmare to deal with. So.
It's so strange. I mean, the one thing I don't like about Ogre McGee is I hate the model of that stupid club. Like, I don't know why. I wish they'd redo the model.
Cosmetics.
He's supposed to have a crude weapon. He's an ogre.
I just don't like it, man.
I have a golden, like, walrus clubbing stuff. It's not a...
I would expect a non-support Ogre Magi. I think it's an off-lane Ogre Magi. They could, with the HP regeneration he has now, basically when you harass him, he has great armor. Level 1, I think it's 4 or 5, which is huge.
Yeah.
And he has great HP.
2.5, isn't it?
And 2.5 HP regen. So
like
when you're
2.0.
When you're a maiden and you want to man fight an Ogre Magi, you can hit him as much as you want. It's not going to matter. If he has a Poor Man Shield, he's just going to run on you and just auto attack you. So with an Enchantress roaming around, the poor maiden is going to be in trouble.
There's a lot of early game aggression coming out from Na'Vi here. This is what we know them to do. So Undying, Enchantress. I think we can expect a lot of pushing.
That's a good counter to Lich though, isn't it? Like the Tombstone. I think that's a smart move.
Until she gets a Gundam Scepter.
Yeah, and then... yeah, then you're in trouble.
So basically there is no way Vici Gaming can, with the 2 less heroes, get a fighting lineup that can actually match with Navi's fighting potential. So now what Vici needs to do is just try figure out a way to avoid fights against Na'Vi.
Yeah, and lane dominance.
Yeah,
like they really need to assert themselves on the lanes. And Lid's, of course, one of the best support heroes to do so through sacrifice. And then Crystal Maiden and Morphling, one of the most classic...
Old school.
Yeah, it's old school. Like there's Crystal Maiden and Morphling, and there's Crystal Maiden and Juggernaut. And those are two of the most old school lanes that can really punish the enemy.
The only thing is, if you look at Na'Vi's lineup, Undying, Ogre McGee, and Enchantress are all really hard to kill. I think Maiden and Lich kind of both pretty easy to kill. So I think in that regard, Na'Vi have a tankier lineup so far.
Still, but looking at the lineups, Vici just needs to not lose the lanes terribly.
Yep.
Use Panda to stave off the early aggression to get Morph big enough. That's
There's one thing though. If Na'Vi now picks a really good pusher that can force Vici into early fights, then I think Vici is in trouble, and they don't actually. So it's an Ogre Magi support, obviously. Probably an Undying off lane, and who's gonna go mid though?
Well, we see
Razor.
this Enchantress
It
Ursa
could be Ursa
combo.
versus Panda.
This was a very popular, or not very popular, but somewhat popular at TI4. You would just smoke with Enchantress and Ursa, and you would just do Roshan.
But they would die.
never know.
They would die. Okay,
They were
actually,
dire, but
it could work.
Do you think they could aggressive tri-lane? I mean, Undying, one of the best heroes against tri-lanes. I don't think Vici is even gonna do a tri-lane. I think they're gonna do dual lanes and have the Lich deny on the bottom lane and just have Crystal Maiden and Morphling sitting in the safe lane. But if they did a tri-lane, I think Na'Vi could contest that and go up there with Razor and Undying and then have a chance to roam around in the jungle. And
Definitely.
They could easily do it, but they can't pressure towers enough. Enchantress is like decent, but not good enough.
So it's Dendi on the Ursa, so that's probably a mid Ursa.
Yeah, so that's an Undying on the off lane.
Okay, thank you very much, gents. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. Get hyped. Game 1 is incoming with your commentary team, Synderen and Toby1.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. Synderin, it's been a while since we got to cast together, but we're here to do a game which, well, with the draft, is very, very unusual.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what to expect with this. I feel like Na'Vi has got a surprise advantage here.
Yep.
I think Vici Gaming experienced team, at least a lot of their players have played together for a long time. They've played against many different strategies, but this particular lineup for Na'Vi is probably unlike most games they've usually played. So
yeah.
maybe they can throw them off a little bit here, but it's kind of an all-in strategy, I feel, from Na'Vi. It's like Merlini pointed out, if it doesn't work out early game, they don't really have much to fall back on late game. You're playing an Ursa as your late game carry into a Morphling. And even the Lich with the Frost Armor. So it's going to be tough, but Na'Vi is a team that's been really good at playing these extreme early game aggression strategies. And I want to point out something we were talking about a little bit. It's actually Dendi picking for Na'Vi, and I'm not sure if that's if that means there's new things to come for them.
Yeah, it was an uncharacteristic thing. Of course, the panel guys couldn't actually see it because that was part of the screen which was actually cut off. But yeah, you're right. We've moved from FNG doing the drafting. He came from Power Rangers. He came from a very aggressive team, and came into this lineup and just basically took the entire Na'Vi lineup and said, "Okay, guys, we're going to play Power Rangers style." And actually use that for the Na'Vi lineup, which ended up working really effectively. They're over-aggressive in every single lane, and they're able to be really, really powerful. And that's just one thing which is missing now. I don't say missing now. From a Na'Vi lineup with Dendi, and you got everything. It's quite good.
Yeah, let's have a look at how the lanes are looking to shape up right now. So Na'Vi will, as Matt pointed out, it looks like they will be running Hvost on the safe lane Razor. That leaves Vanscore and FNG as the support roaming duo with Ogre, Magi, and Enchantress. Towards the mid lane is going to be Dendi on the Ursa. I'm really looking forward to see how that's going to work out. He's going to have a hard lane. And finally, Funnick will be in the Radiant off lane as the Undying.
I also have to make a quick modification as we're hearing things.
We're hearing things. We're tripping out over here. All right, so yeah, while you're taking care of that, let's introduce Vici Gaming as well.
We're good now.
We're good. We're good. So we've got the Crystal Maiden being played by FY. He will be joined in the support ventures by Fenrir on the Lich. Black will be playing as the Morphling in the mid lane, classic Vici lane with Morphling Lich as it looks like. Then Ice will be on the Timbersaw, and finally Super on a safe lane Brewmaster. Kind of unusual for Vici.
Yeah, this is them just trying to mix it up. Like, I know the boys said it before on the panel. All they got to do is just make sure they survive the early point of the game. And then they're able to, they'll just come out on top. Their lineup is so much better going into the mid game than it is for Na'Vi. Where Na'Vi's lineup, it needs momentum behind it more than anything else. They need to get out there, they need to get at least ahead in the CS to start with, and then push through into the mid game with a lot of kills as momentum based.
Oh, that's a big blow already here for Na'Vi, getting their smoke broken here. Ice went up. Actually, he's kind of in over his head right now as Na'Vi have put some different lanes here. Funnick will be getting a K off, but it's very easy with Timber Chain. So first smoke from Na'Vi is going to fail. Very uncharacteristic as well to see a smoke from Enchantress before she even has a creep. That seemed kind of weird here from Na'Vi, but yeah.
Maybe they're trying to get one of those surprise timings. One thing I'm actually more concerned about for Na'Vi is the fact they've pushed Tavors towards this top lane. Now, he's got Static Link to start with, but up against both a Frostbite as well as a Clap, there's a lot of control over on a Vorst. And he's only walking around with sets of Tangos. That's all that's available for him. So FY able to zone out a Vorst on the top lane has become so much easier for Vici Gaming. I'm not seeing where the power's coming through from Na'Vi. Like, you got an Undying who is currently playing as a core on the bottom lane up against a Timbersaw, but Timber's still going to find levels. And that's the only thing Ice is really caring about in this off lane.
Yeah, they don't have a good lane at shutting down Timbersaw at all. If you want to shut down a Timber in the offlane, you need either to have some really good stuns or silences so he can't just Timber Chain away. But all they have is an Ogre Magi stun, so I think Na'Vi are making the right call, just realizing, okay, this lane is not going to work. So we're going to try for something else. The problem is this might be really obvious, and it's a very bad timing too. They're going for the smoke gank right when Dendi is pushing out the lane.
They'll have to go all the way around if they want to make this work.
Yeah, that's risky. And they're ganking a Morphling and a Lich. That's not going to be easy. Only the Lich is killable for them. That's 100% given, but can they find the opening here?
They actually end up attacking anyway and start farming up inside the dire side jungle. Leave a Tornado to try and just screw around a little bit with the players in the mid. And that's all. Like, it's going to drop Fenrir down nice and low. So if they want to get an attempt to kill off Fenrir, that's a possibility. But the creep they got was a Hellbear Smasher. While his aura might have been swifted around, he's now a Centaur as well by basically relation. But he's only got Clap. And a Clap isn't enough to ensure the kill, unless you're able to get a good Ogre Magi stun off. But this is a non-boots first Ogre. So getting Vanscore into position to get this rather... Well, the range isn't too shabby for it. But to get his stun off, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's just not that strong of a stun on level 1. It's a 1.5 second, which is good, but 60 damage, and you know your Ogre can't follow up after that until he's level 2 with Ignite. So this is a pretty weak roaming duo, unless Enchantress has really good creeps, which she definitely doesn't right now. So you need Ogre to be level 2, and they've managed that.
Even got an Alpha Wolf, so there's not another control ability coming up from this. And FY is going to spot them out. He's moved down for a moment, so he does actually know they're there. In fact, pings it out for a moment too. And he wants to try and slow him down. That Alpha Wolf's coming in close, but a Frostbite can keep it out. But he wants to save it for a hero. That's why the Frost Blast out from Fenrir. The Clap actually holding back the Hellbear. And with the Ignite too, Fenrir will be backing himself up. While on bottom lane, Ice should be the first blood. Undying and Timbersaw battling up against each other. And Funnick comes out on top with a solo kill.
And that's that surprise effect I was talking about before the game, or the fact that Na'Vi are running some different heroes. I think if Ice plays this lane again, this is a death you really shouldn't have. Undying doesn't really have anything on Timbersaw. Yes, you've got Decay, which is great. You can exchange blows, and Timbersaw will probably lose that unless Undying gets clipped by a couple of Whirling Deaths next to the trees. But even dying in this lane is kind of a big mistake. But Ice is one of those players who's not afraid to take chances. And I think in this situation, I mean, I wasn't even looking at the lane. I was expecting this lane to have absolutely nothing happening. Uh-oh.
We'll have ourselves a quick reconnect as majority of the players and all of the commentators end up DCing out of the matchup. But yeah, it's not really a lane which you're looking for. And the only reason why it flagged for me is because both heroes went below 25% of their life points. And there's like, well, wait, hang on. Missing first blood of ESL One. Let's not do that. And it ended up, it's a lane like, you even try and just boggles the mind how you would attempt something like that. You'd lose your life points. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. But it's still a 2-1-1 build. So you do have some points up in the reactive armor there. Yeah.
It's a very, theoretically, it's an interesting lane because Undying will be stealing strength, and then Timbersaw with Whirling Death will be removing strength as well. So it's compared to the usual lanes you would play where you feel like you're comfortable with, okay, what can I do with Decay? What can I do with Whirling Death? This one kind of defies that a little bit because these heroes have a very special matchup. So won't fault Ice too much for it. I think it was still a weird death, I guess you could say. I would have said the same if it was the Undying dying, to be honest.
That's true.
Just a kill even happening in that lane was kind of surprising, but important for Na'Vi at least to get that first blood on that lane. Their early rotations on the supports already pretty much failed. They wasted 2 smokes. They didn't find a single kill. The Crystal Maiden is half-time jungling, so she's keeping up with both of the other supports, and at the same time, Lich and Morphling are just winning the mid lane. So it's looking good for Vici Gaming already, and perhaps Undying can be a big hero for Na'Vi in this matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you get a big boost like that. But I'm still wondering if that's enough momentum that we can really say, okay, well, Na'Vi's off to a really great start here, because you've still got the other lanes being throttled out. Like, the Lich is still causing a lot of problems. So if Brewmaster and Morphling haven't died yet, they're kind of like the 2 key guys. Like, the Timbersaw only wants levels. That's the primary thing. Don't feed too much, and make sure you get up in the levels. And Ice, when he came back to the lane, he came back very quickly. There wasn't much experience being lost. So there's no major problem for him. And once he gets a bottle up and running too, he can be a lot more over-aggressive. As Mark was saying before, with the changes up in the runes too, having that bounty now, you're able to give a lot more mana and life points into the Timbersaw off lane, because he can just go over and control up the bottom rune and then just jump straight back into the action.
But then again, on the other hand, the thing about getting bottle on Timbersaw, I feel like this hero, the way he works, is kind of... He wants to peak fairly early. And while bottle might not be the biggest investment, it's still 700 gold that you're putting into it, right? So if you do that, you are delaying your Arcane Boots, which you will probably want to turn into a Bloodstone, which is the usual build. Timbersaw, one of the few heroes that goes Bloodstone pretty much every single competitive game, if he gets decent farm at least. And now with the different Bloodstone build-up, I think... One way of playing Timbersaw, I've only tried it once or twice myself, is to get the Soul Ring early on. You are sacrificing health for the mana, so you need to be a little bit careful with it, but it gives you the ability to farm pretty much for free, because you can just Soul Ring, Whirling Death, and then Timber Chain, and that kind of makes up for the mana you used the mana you had. And as long as, against an Undying, I think you can get away with it. So I would like to see Ice going Soul Ring into the Bloodstone immediately, and not go for a bottle. I think it delays his impact too much.
We might have ourselves a couple of moments as the players again to be discussing this. We have reconnected back into the game, but to send every single player of the teams back to the fountain. Because everyone disconnected out, but the game didn't actually complete. So we're back inside the lobby, but everyone apart from Ice is fully in the fountain. Ice is only a bit of a walk away. But yeah, there'll be a bit of a discussion. We do have Holy Master actually flown all the way from Germany to be our on-site referee to make sure everything does go as smoothly as possible. So we may either have a load or we come from this position. That's our situation for now. But Volvo, please serve us.
Yeah, so the discussion right now between Navi and Vici is if they load and the load fails or whatever, what the plan is. It's probably going to be fine, but Navi are saying, well, we got the first blood, so if we load and the load fails and we don't get the first blood, then we would, if there's a risk of that, we would rather just play on as it is right now. Because for them, it's a really big deal.
We can always go for the classic Warcraft 3 kind of style, remember? Everyone disconnects out. Oh, we can't remake. Oh, it's all right. We just end up feeding first blood in the lane.
The thing is, it's very different whether you die on level 1 in the Timbersaw versus Undying matchup or you die at level 4.
True.
It really has big implications for the lane. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It looks like it is indeed going to be a load here. So going to be reconnecting into that. And I suppose that would be a 5-minute load, which should be after...
It should be after the first blood.
After he died, I think
It should be after the first blood.
Yeah, so we should be all good if that works out.
Yeah, I have confidence, Sind. I have confidence that life will be better again for. Yeah, so we're back inside our lobby, and we'll be getting ourselves underway 5 minutes in, so first blood will be there. So there's still going to be the solo kill going the way of the Undying, so Funnick will still have the advantage in that lane. Okay, so let's actually just try and break down Navi's lineup now. Obviously, they've gone for something very unusual. The Enchantress pickup, we're not looking to force down early tier 1 towers right now, at least not yet. We've seen some attempted ganks right now. Has it done enough in the early stage to give them that momentum into the mid game?
I would say no. And the only reason Navi's in a decent position is because of that solo kill in the bot lane, which can mean a lot, because Undying is one of those heroes who can provide a hell of a lot in at about the 10 to 15 minute mark. So if he gets a solo kill on the lane and he gets a fast level 7, so you have the level 4 tombstone, that's when you can start taking towers. What's surprising to me is seeing Navi going for this kind of a strategy in this version where destroying towers is worth way less. You get glyphs after destroying tier 1s. And you're playing a lineup that's so heavy early game. And I think usually if you play like this with incredible early game, in this version, you would like to have some late game insurance.
Yeah.
They have a Razor and an Ursa. They're running the Razor in the off lane, so they can't really rely on that. He's also not the best late gamer in the world. Ursa can be good, but in this matchup, he's just not that good. There's elusive heroes on the enemy team. There's a Timbersaw, there's a Morphling, and there's Ice Armor against that Ursa. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what Navi's idea is, but it seems like they've really put themselves in a tough position right from the start where they have to perform.
It's like the ultimate, it's a gamble lineup, not a greed lineup. We've actually started the game again now, so a 3-minute 30 load in is where we're going to be at, and the first blood is obviously already there, so they're back into doing their normal things inside the lanes. But yeah, it really is one of these things where I'm waiting to see that maybe there's some hidden timing coming out from Navi when their lineup is really supposed to hit that sweet spot in the mid game. But so far I'm seeing an underleveled Enchantress because of all the rotating, which hasn't been successful. And I'm seeing Black, who is just streaking ahead in the CS. 23 for 3 up against an Ursa, who isn't really that great at 16 for 1 only.
That's really impressive to me, to be honest, for Dendy to have 16 CS in this lane. This is a lane on paper
he's going
that
up
he
against
should be
Lich.
absolutely crushed in. Lich Morphling kind of can't do, or you can't do anything against this lane as a melee hero, but at least that's one thing Navi's rotations have done, is that they've put a little bit of pressure on the mid lane with creeps, and because of that, Dendy has been able to get some CS. And if you get 16 CS in 4 minutes against this lane and you secure yourself to level 5, now that denies are stronger as well, it's really important for Ursa to get up the levels on the clap. Dendy's actually not looking too bad here. That's the biggest surprise of the game for me, apart from the first blood, is how good it's looking.
They're looking for a crack on Ice. The Cicada started off, he's only got a level 1 Timber Chain, so there's not that far to get through. While up on the top lane, they're also ganking up here, so it's going to be Havos dying up on the top lane to the smoke gank that came out from the Lich as well as the Crystal Maiden. While on bottom lane, they do secure the Timbersaw. So a 1-1 trade across the board.
A perfectly timed stun in the bot lane. That was what I was watching from Vanscore. So he throws the Ignite out on the Timber, realizing Timber has one escape route, which is right here, going toward this tree, and he just waits out. He throws the Fire Blast the moment Ice starts the Timber Chain animation, and he gets broken, and then there's the Centaur Stomp follow-up. So, yep, it's a 1-for-1. I guess the kill on Hvos might be a little bit more important, since Razor is, in my book, a more farm-dependent hero than the Timbers.
But look what they did instantly with the Razor. So Razor dies up on top lane, you bring him to the bottom lane. He got pinked out pretty quickly. Looks like Denny also with a haste rune is easily able to escape a bit of a gank up in the mid. But Ice is now technically going up against 2 cores on this bottom lane of Na'Vi, and they've abandoned the top, and they're going to initiate Ignite, but he already changed himself away, so obviously with no stun they can't stop that. And their effectiveness into this tower is, like, Vincere sitting here tanking for all the regeneration the P-Flax was talking about before is not going to allow you to beat down a tier 1 tower with that very, well, dodgy club.
No, yeah, they did at least manage to do a little bit of damage here, but it seemed like some kind of arbitrary movement right here. Now they're looking towards the Roche pit already. There's going to be a pause coming in here from Vincere, but oh. Wait, what?
That's the problem at the 6-minute mark when no runes spawn. Well, all right. So it's this was an older bug. This was a lot older bug with the rune spawning timing.
Experienced users. Experienced users of the load.
Phrasing probably not the greatest thing in the world, but it now means that, on the 30-second mark is when the runes will be spawning up. Something just to keep in mind a little bit more. Now, Ice, as well as Funnick and FNG, they're all watching each other around the pit areas. They know what the hell's going on, while Dendy, well, he's hoping for it. Black is hovering around too, but they're bringing a lot of support in. Dropping the tombstone out the front as well. Black still waiting for the time. He's going to get ignited up as well as blasted, but then the Nova tries to slow him down. Roshan taken out by Dendy. And Vici Gaming, they're wanting just to back up for now. Vorse getting very close to FY. He doesn't have any stolen damage. FY with that Ice Arm also slowing down a Vorse, and that's actually blocking up FNG as FY makes a straight east heading towards that tier 2 tower, back into safety. So for all the diving, they're actually looking for a pickoff. Back to front, maybe Fenrir. He can get a Frost Blast FNG and slow him down here, but Vincere can also turn. FNG's very low on life. FY, he's got Frostbite available, and it's trigger on FNG, and that allows Super as well as Black to rotate over the top. They'll come for a Vorse and then the Brewmaster split. They don't want a Vorse getting out of here. So far, it's a 1-for-1 trade-off. The Ogre Magi is up and towards the air. Vorse will go down. Yes, she got him with the Plasma Field to pick up the Crystal Maiden, but Vincere, he's in a lot of trouble. Ice, plus the Brewmaster. The chain will go up. Vincere still on the run. Super back into his normal self. He doesn't have mana for a clap, however, so he can't slow down Vincere. The Morphling just hovers through the river, up to the high ground, and we go 4-4 after the fight. That's including Roshan, however, going the way of Na'Vi. And they did hold the Aegis through it all.
This is one thing Navi's lineup is so incredibly good at this early on in the game. When you can set it up for Roche like that, when you have the Ursa, of course, who is able to solo him with any sort of creep from Enchantress tanking, and you have a lineup that's so hard to fight into, we're looking at a 6-minute fight right there against a level 3 Tombstone, a Razor with level 4 Plasma Field, and an Ogre and Enchantress at the front lines just being able to keep people away. It's a great play here from Na'Vi. They do lose a couple of heroes on the way out, but I still think it's fair to say that they got the better of that exchange now.
I would say to a point, but when you realize what Super was able to do that, because he got 2 kills out of that, he picked up an 8-minute Blink Dagger over on this Brewmaster. So his jump capability and initiation now really starts coming up for Vici Gaming.
Yeah, bottom lane, FY. Who's going to find who here, actually? Looks like Ice is the one being found out.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of tankiness behind him. He's timber chains himself away. FY is already TPing out. FNG low on life, but the chain away from Ice. He's got enough regeneration of 7.2. The Sun Blast is a long way away, and he chains up to TP away from Vincere, who couldn't get that blast off in time.
Very, very nice escape here from Vici. They immediately realized they got the bad end of that fight and tried to get out. And okay.
It's like Ice has found himself a little bit of a bug. Hopefully nothing too critical for him. We should know too now that Super, even though we picked up... okay, well that's not a great thing. But after he picked up the Blink Dagger, Super didn't go around and just start fighting. In fact, he revealed the Blink Dagger up on the top lane straight away and just started farming up. So I'm wondering if this is more Super still saying, well, Vici Gaming's initial plan was survive the early stage, don't lose out too heavily in the lanes, and then they hit them really hard in the mid to late game.
The thing about that strategy, though, is that Na'Vi has got so much out of the lanes compared to what I thought they would. The Razor from Vost at about, I think it was 5 minutes, had like 25 CS in that off lane 1 and 2. In the mid lane, Dendy, as we talked about, already got good farms. So with what we said, we were expecting Vici Gaming to be doing better in the lanes than they have, considering that Navi's rotations didn't go too well. But now I'm not so sure. If we just look at this game going fairly late, Dendy is looking really strong in
bottom lane.
The Razor's also getting kills here.
Yeah, but a Voss, maybe he can't get the kill here. The Ignite is burning down FY. That's why he's sticking here so he can just throw down the Nova. He realized he was dead then. So he just turned to make sure that Ice could ensure the kill over on the Razor.
This is a really weird bug for Ice. can see what the issue is. If you look at the chakram, it has a different icon than it usually does. It has the Ags icon. What's going on? Nice rune denied by FNG. He's going to be in a lot of trouble, though.
Yeah, he's actually in a hell of a lot of trouble. There's not enough mana, though, for Ice to keep the chase going in FNG. And with the 2 levels up in the sprites, he's got enough life points.
He is such a goner. They're going to... Oh, Fenrir taking a lot of damage here, actually. He might die to the tombstone. He stuck around way too long. And they're going to get that kill.
He turned around so he could actually get the Frost Blast over, but maybe unnecessary. But it is still an Undying for a Lich.
They use Primal Split for that, though. That's a really good trade for Funnick.
As long as Na'Vi can actually do something while that Primal Split is down. Because Vici Gaming will just go back into their lanes and passively farm. Then he's actually being a big nuisance here to Ice. He's chasing him in as far as he can to the tier 2 tower. Vorst was there to help him out, but yeah, just quick phase boosts, they're in and out. He knows he's got this Aegis the Immortal, it's only for 5 minutes, so if he can get just 1 kill by expending the Aegis the Immortal, that still makes it worthwhile.
And if they can force down a tower with this, that could be a fairly big deal. FNG is coming in from the side. He's only level 4 though on this Enchantress, and he's not even close to 5. And this is a trap that a lot of Enchantress players usually go into, is that they focus so much on one thing that they forget about the other. And of course, I'm talking about ganks / farming. I think right now it's really important for FNG that he doesn't waste time on unlikely ganks and that he starts catching up. His level 6 is going to be fairly important here. And the same, of course, goes for the Ogre of Vanscore, who's also only level 4.5. So Na'Vi needs to be careful not to fall behind on experience. As far as the other side goes, we've got a Crystal Maiden level 6 from FY and a level 6 Lich too, so their support's easily way ahead of Na'Vi, which means there's that much more emphasis on Na'Vi's cores to really get the job done in the next few minutes.
It looks like Na'Vi, they're going to give this a crack while the Brewmaster's down, pushing into the tier 1 tower, so he has ulti, of course. So Vorst, he's even getting soul ripped up, so he's able to stand a little bit close towards the line, took a little bit too much damage from the tower, but the Frost Armor is slowing this push down quite a hell of a lot. But Vici Gaming still, they'll lose their tier 1 tower. They get fortification back up again, so Na'Vi can't just keep pushing with this lineup. So we're 12 minutes in, it's 6-6 on the board. Na'Vi have claimed 1 tier 1 tower. They have an advantage of 1,500 gold, but they're behind in the experience. And I'm still feeling like Vici Gaming are the ones in control of this. Like, they purposefully didn't take that fight in the middle lane. No one came close, no extra lives were lost, and they keep getting the call for support trade-offs.
Yeah, and again, this in this version with the bounty of the towers, this is not that important. The most important thing about taking the towers by far now is the map control. That's always been important, but now even more so than it used to compared to the actual gold. So as long as Vici have control of the map and they feel like they can farm their cores, I don't think they mind too much losing 1 or 2 towers. It's kind of inevitable against Na'Vi's lineup. And well, it looks like they might be aiming to get some of their own here in the top lane, looking for a wraparound. Morphling's going to wait farm out in the bottom. Black sees it coming. There's 4 Na'Vi heroes here. And effectively, Vici are just wasting their time up here because the guy they were looking for just left and went bottom. They're going to lose another tower here for nothing, maybe.
They're going to try and get a tier 1 tower trade-off from the middle lane, so they might still get their fight after all.
Black.
He's in very deep. The strength morph away means it's almost impossible to get that close, but with his extra movement speed being blood raged up, and that blink dagger of his, he can initiate. But it's still, okay, a tier 1 tower, Black's still able to escape. Na'Vi commit 5 heroes to that bottom lane. And Vici Gaming want to fight in this middle lane. That's the reason why they went to top. They want to use this Brewmaster split. Funnick's going to come in, and now the decision's going to be there for Vici Gaming. Is this worthwhile or not?
I think they need to be really careful with this. Funnick has level 4 Tombstone. He's got 2 in Soul Rip and of course his ultimate available. He also has the gold for a mechanism right now that he could fly out. And I think this is, to me, in the next 10 minutes, this is the absolute peak point of Navi's lineup. The moment Undying has his mechanism and you have the blink on Ursa, this is when you want to take team fights. You set them up on your terms, try to make the enemy team fight inside the Tombstone, and then you can go. I think even with a good split from Super, Na'Vi can still win team fights, and that's very rare for a lineup to have that ability 13 minutes in that you can fight into a brew with Blink in a flat-out 5-on-5. But that's what Undying can do for you, especially in the new version with the, I believe there's longer range on Tombstone now, 1,200 radius on that level 4.
Explains reasons why Fenrir has trouble escaping as well.
Yeah. It's hard to get away from once you're caught.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But when he had like 5 minions on him and still trying to escape, life be even harder. Black's moved out of the bottom lane now, and he's got free space down here. That's just a, well, he's actually make a replicate of an illusion down on this bottom lane. And that's just free space for him to farm up. Because, again, Na'Vi, they're grouping up as 4. They want to bring down these towers one by one. And I actually say 4, I should actually correct that and say 5 heroes. So Black gets some time to hit into the tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. There's no fortification available here for Na'Vi. but they still just want to make sure they get down every single outer tower they can possibly do, especially the Tier 1 towers, like the fortification regenerating ones. That's the ones they have to get rid of early on, because then they can play with momentum. Havorst and Funnick, they come actually down to bottom lane. Actually, Havorst ends up cancelling his TP. He stays up on top lane, didn't actually come all the way down. And Dandy, well, he found Ice. Timber chain away into the Shark Room, slowing down Dandy. And Ice, he got a lot more support around the corner. Dandy thought Ice had overcommitted there, but he hadn't. And now they'll bring down the Tier 1 tower with the death of Dandy. And that was also no Aegis Immortal on him. And obviously it timed out by that point.
Yeah, that would have been very different if he still had the Aegis, but yeah, it's just overcommitment here from Dandy. He doesn't. He used the blink. He got slowed down that much from the Chakram. He's starting to run uphill into the fog to try to chase Ice down. And at the same time, the heroes who were pushing the bottom lane for Vici were gone. So there's kind of only one place they could be at. And even if they weren't there, I don't know if that's a kill you actually get on the Timber. So you have to expect that he's maxing out Timber Chain in this game against the heroes that Na'Vi have. So the Timber Chain was actually available again, and he would have just jumped away. And Dandy, being that melee hero, having to stay in close, will probably take the damage, and it takes too long for the Blink Daggers to come off cooldown again. He used that to initiate with his 12 seconds. Ice is going to be gone at that point.
It really does actually bring up a more extended question. How is Dandy meant to, like, okay, he can build all the damage in the world. How does he actually inflict that damage into VG Gaming? Like, with Waveform, with Timber Chain, with Brewmaster Split, makes it very difficult as well to actually lock on a target. And all these targets could also be frost armored up. So he's got that to deal with, and he can get Nova, and he can have the Crystal Maiden ulti drop on top. You got all these different things which are making it so difficult for Denny to actually put his damage
There's
in.
even Drunken Haze. I feel like this is an incredibly hard Ursa game. Na'Vi picked it
It was fifth. Was it fifth?
Fifth?
It was fifth. The Ursa was fifth was the last one.
And I think that what they mainly had in mind was, of course, this Roshan strategy, which they have executed, but when is it going to really be put into play here?
It's one Roshan, and is Roshan really worth that much?
Well, he's relative to previously, he's worth more compared to the Tier 1s, because he still gives the same gold. So if you trade Roshan for a Tier 1 tower, it's generally favoring the Roshan team now, I would say, where before you could like discuss, was it worth the tower or not? But my main concern here is that Na'Vi did not get to use the Aegis. So Dandy, he has good farm, he has he has the blink, but like you said, who does he go on? It kind of, for me, doesn't matter who he initiates on almost, as all of them will escape, maybe apart from Lich. Crystal Maiden will just Frostbite him and run. And the Brewmaster will probably be skilling Drunken Haze on level 10. He doesn't have it yet. He has Split as well. And the only targeted stun Na'Vi have is the Ogre Magi. So he has to, it kind of has to be like this. Na'Vi open the fight, Ogre stuns guy, Ursa blinks in, kills guy without getting frostbitten.
And I think you kind of actually need to add in like a multicast into that stuns guy kind of thing. Like you got to hold him there for the max duration possible in order for Ursa to dish out that deeps.
And that got buffed too. One thing they were talking about in the panel was multicasts increased chance, but there's also more delay between the multicasts. It actually got increased, and that means the stuns last longer because they used to overlap, right? It's a 1.5 second stun. And I think the time between the multicast procs was increased by 1/10 of a second. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you start multicasting 3 or even 4 times, that's an extra about half second of stun for Dendi to hit stuff in. So, well, it could make a difference once or twice, perhaps having that longer duration. But I'm still not.
It actually got buffed up even more than that, considering like the level 1 multicast is now what it used to be at level 2.
Yeah. In terms of percentage chance, or let's see. I don't remember the old percentage.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head either. That's the reason why we have people like you.
Yeah, so interesting about Ogre was that in the past, before this version, you would generally pick Ogre Magi for the Bloodlust. That was kind of the main attraction of the hero. You didn't consider it worthy of a pick over other supports because he's melee. His stun is okay, but not that amazing. Ignite is fairly good, especially on early on in the game, but you would be weighing the pros and cons of getting this guy over like a Rubik, for example, or whatever. Like, who do you feel like gives you the biggest impact? And people would skip multicast on level 6, which I don't think is going to happen anymore. Now it's just too damn good. But and I like this a lot because it puts Ogre in a position where he's not that go-to support only for Bloodlust, but now he actually has more value than that. So I like it a lot, because when you look at Navi's lineup, how good is Bloodlust really? It's okay for Ursa. The move speed is good. The attack speed he doesn't need at all.
Yeah.
And Razor,
he's
kind of the same story.
He's already got his own bonus movement speed, and he's a walking tank with lightning. Like, he doesn't need much more than that. And most of the time with Navi's lineup, they don't want to be chasing people. Like, they actually want Vici Gaming to stay exactly where they are. That tombstone drops, and then that is the circle of area that they fight inside of. Ogre he's throwing out stuns. He's getting, like, AoE ignites as well, so he wants them to be massively grouped up. But they don't have a way to group them up.
No.
Like, unless VG Gaming willingly come into them, that's probably my major problem for this. I remember I was having a chat to Cap about this, and we talked about about the meta and if how it's going to change with a new patch, and do you then just go late game? Do you worry about ganking, and does ganking become your priority? Do you actually run a double initiator just to make sure that you're the one that can always set up, get a kill, and then pick an advantage up, even if you're behind the ball? But with this line from Na'Vi, who is really your initiator? You get a Blink Dagger over on Dendi early on. Okay, that's him to initiate to a point, but he can't initiate on the 3 cores with just himself. He needs to actually have somebody else right behind it. And that means a full army of Enchantress creeps waiting for wherever the hero waveforms or timber chains out to, or it's an Okamashai with a 4-star or a Blink Dagger, so he can also keep up with the Ursa. But even then, you're still relying on RNG to make sure you can keep these stuns going and actually hold VG Gaming in position.
I think the plan for Na'Vi in this game, itemization-wise, is to get hexes. I think it's necessary. When you look at Vici's lineup, it's just on paper. First of all, it's a great item against Morphling and Timbersaw. Secondly, their lineup needs it more than most lineups do. And it has great synergy with the Ursa. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dendi getting a hex, but I think he has to get BKB first against this Vici Gaming lineup. He also can't play as hero in fights.
True. But if you start getting the BKBs, then you miss out on what made Ursa so great, which was the fact you could stack up your orbs as well. And that's not even there. He didn't even pick up an Orb of Venom in this game.
It's not necessarily something he has to get either. I don't think the Orb is the main thing here. It's just for him to just be able to attack. It's way more important than anything else. So I would say BKB Hex would be my choice here. I think I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Hvost getting the same items on the Razor. BKB into Hex. The Ags is generally a really good item on Razor. It's one of the best Ags upgrades in the game. But first of all, as Matt pointed out on the panel, it doesn't persist through ages, so you can't really make that play anymore.
Yeah.
And as far as Vici Gaming's lineup goes, how realistic is it for you to track people down with Eye of the Storm when you're playing against them? You need the BKB first, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're getting Axe after that, perhaps the Hex for Dendi would be the better choice. And maybe even Undying can get a Hex.
You're talking like 35 minutes, 45 minutes into the game worth of farm required to do this.
Yeah. But they're probably going there, right?
They will definitely go there, but by the time they reach it, VG Gaming will be walking around them with Lincoln Spheres over on the Morphling. You're probably also going to have that E-Blade, which by the looks of it, Black is rushing into. He actually picked up the Ghost Scepter already, and this allows him to evade the early attacks that come out from the Ursa. So they've shut down the early DPS, which Na'Vi was relying on.
This is such a good Ethereal Blade game, actually. It's like, when he's Ethereal, nothing's going to kill him. Enchantress can't attack. Even with Impetus, pure damage, it doesn't go through because it's a...
You actually thought too as well with the E-Blade changes that you thought, okay, well, Shotgun Morphling is dead, but all it did was just switch up the order of the way you attack with the E-Blade. Now it's not like a straight shotgun shot. It's more like a delayed kind of thing with the echo at the end.
Yeah, the one thing that's really important about the new E-Blade, though, is that he has to choose who to use it on. The old E-Blade affected yourself and the target if you cast it aggressively, but now if you cast it aggressively, it doesn't affect you. I was mainly calling that a buff for Morphling, since he would be able to shotgun down someone and immediately go on the next target with attacks. Previously, he had to Mantis to do that. But in this particular game, it might be a nerf, because if he wants to go aggressive on a target with the E-Blade, he's still exposed himself. So if he doesn't go on the Ursa with that, he can get caught out really hard, really fast as well. So
at the same time, then
no
bonus magical damage flying your way as well then.
Yeah, that's true. But as far as that goes, Navi's lineup is kind of weak. Ogre Magi with a multicast, of course, could be incredible. Plasma Field is decent, but Undying, his Tombstone is physical. Soul Rip is fairly good, but I don't know how reliable it is to hit a lot of targets in the area with that. Maybe level 3 will actually go through, so. I'm thinking twice, maybe Navi's magical damage isn't something you should be underestimating if you're playing the Morphling of Black here. But at the very least, Ursa and Enchantress are useless, but the 3 other heroes between themselves can actually pack quite a punch with spells now that I look at it, so. Well, maybe it's not as easy for Black as I thought. We're gonna see.
No, we will. We should be getting ourselves back into the game momentarily, as we have had our last player have his PC replaced, and we connected everyone back inside the game. Obviously, though, we are looking at Fanscore without having his headset on. So until that's on, then he's probably okay. It looks like he's getting back into TeamSpeak as well. So they got all their communication. And yes, for the people out there that were concerned and made threads about it, protection was applied to ESL One.
We use protection here.
Yeah, double layers for maximum safety. Well, yeah.
So we're still, we're waiting on one player basically to set up here, but I feel like we've covered most of the things. The more important thing for me actually is, like, we're talking about going late into the game and how the state of the game is right now, but is it possible for Na'Vi to force a fight? Do they want to? When do they want to force it? Do they try to take 2-2s? Do they want to force a fight the next Roche?
And this one, I think Roshan's going to be the key, man. Roshan has to be the key in this. You even saw their warding very early on. They put one observe ward up on top of like the hill just overlooking the bottom lane, and then they put another one up on top of that big cliff point, which isn't used that often very early on unless you're trying to like push. Because you want to know when the enemy are going to be coming at you. Now, we've restarted the game, so we're back in again. But yeah, Roshan for me, I think is going to be the critical point, but you're still running a VG Gaming lineup, and then instantly into the split. The Tombstone will drop, but this won't affect the Brewlings, and in fact, now Funnick, he triggers off the mech, goes into Almond form, Soul Rips as well, FY commits the ultimate. This is some serious hatred up against the Undying. They're still got a Tombstone to kill off, while Ice trying to defend up against Divorced, but more importantly, Black's pushing into the Tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. So not only do they get a kill, they're going to take the Tier 1 tower as well.
This is a really good move from Vici Gaming. They did pay for it, right? So they better get something out of it, using both Split and Freezing Field there. But it was interesting for me to see how tanky the Undying was. I think if we get a cloak up on the Undying of Funnick here, he's going to be almost impossible to bring down the fights. And once again, Navi's lineup is really good right now if they get the fight, but as you can tell from the way Vici has been playing this game, they don't mind using big ultimates to kill the Undying because they know when he's out of play, Navi will not be team fighting. Great initiation from Ice here.
Yeah, Havost in a lot of trouble. The static link will go, but the rest of the damage from Ice just be his Chakram. If he knew his cooldown timer, nope, then he's going to come in, and now Fenrir. It's a good clap. Fenrir's going to get mopped up. The Lich Ulti will bounce around. Very few hits actually going into Dandy. He took one hit only from the bounce. Meaning that also Ice will go back, then he doesn't take a lot of damage, but Razor stays alive.
Yeah, this is a big turnaround here. Great juke from Havost as well. You could tell from Ice's movement there that he was trying to wait until Havost kind of only had one way of going. But even in that narrow area, there is two choices, and he took the right one.
Do you really super? No, you don't super. Dandy and Vanskol were babysitting him. A blink into clap, and with one drunken brawler hit, he would have brought down a Vost.
He's not going to take the chance here. Now, Vanscore's going to hit level 6. This is a very late level 6 for any support. Minute 17, he finally gets the multicast up. Now, this is a big deal. But once again, the question is, when does the fight happen? Do we see Na'Vi trying to brute force at some point soon? They know the split is down, but it's only for another 20.
It'll be a smoke walk into Roshan if Vici Gaming want to try and contest. But look at Vici Gaming. Ice is already jumping up to have a look. They send an illusion of a Timbersaw into the pit as well. That's the replicate. So they're trying to bait him out as a real one. They might actually unleash on this because he'll take a lot of damage as a replicate. But then the Nova slowing him down. Ice still up on top of the cliffside. But FNG locked in the Frostbite with the waveform from Black. They'll get the kills. They've lost the Enchantress, which means they've lost Untouchable to help them bring down Roshan. And they have to be very much aware the Vici game is ready for this. But Dandy, well, there's the blink in. Super, clap, split. Dandy actually jumps Invis. They have no detection. The Chakram's flying out, the Sorup as well, but they kept him alive now. Ice stunned up by Vanskor. They're fighting on the cusp of the pit. Ice misses Timber Chain out. Multicast over to Force, trying to buff him up. The Brewlings, they're actually giving him a large portion of damage, 105 points of it in fact. And then he is still walking around Invis. He hasn't come out of this the entire time. And VG Gaming have split. We've got one down to bottom lane, one over towards middle lane, the other three are still hovering around the Roche pit. And Crystal Maiden will keep scouting this out. I don't see Na'Vi completing this at all.
That Invis bait might give them Roche soon, though. They managed to get the split off here from Super and not a single kill coming off of it. So with the cooldowns of Na'Vi pretty much being intact apart from Eye of the Storm, they might be able to go and force this Roshan right now. It's the biggest ability for Vici Gaming to have on cooldown right now. And if Na'Vi wanted to do that in the first place, I feel like they should just try again. It looks like they might do that. Perfect central placement here coming out from FNG. Just barely spots the ward on that new spot. And it looks like they're going at it again. Yep,
they'll run themselves in, but at the same time, FY, he puts his Observer Ward down now. This got spotted being placed. And FY actually taking a little bit of damage from Agents, but Ice. Sharkham does not make this easy for Dandy. She's a little bit further out. The Roshan clap will bring down Funnick as well as Dandy and Super. He's hovering around 38 seconds until Split is up and running. And VG Gaming do not want to let this one go easily. They're all moving in, even a Voss on his way in. FNG finally going to get bloodlusted up. And he's going to try and slow down Roshan, but he's almost gone. Now Roshan, it does belong to them. The Chakra flies in again, Ice up on the cliff. And Funnick, he's actually trapped in here, really slowed up. FNG's going to try and stick with him, even goes back in to pick up that TP scroll. We'll see if he'll regret that in a moment. As the Brewmaster split, 11 seconds of cooldown. Funnick trapped out. He's going to be pulled down a long way. FY with the Nova. Able to finally get the kill, and then FNG being frostbitten up. FY dropping down that field. So as 2 heroes being lost, 4 Roshan being taken by Na'Vi, and VG Gaming didn't have to use split for that. I'm still not certain this is really worth it for Na'Vi, for everything they committed in for that.
That was a really good aggressive play from Ice too, getting in on that tree and setting up a perfect chakram there on top of the Undying here. So yeah, as far as the trade-off goes, I would still say Na'Vi get the better end of it, not because of the golden experience, but just because of the fact that they have the Aegis. Now they need to use this time around. If they don't, it's another, I wouldn't call it wasted commitment because it was still okay, but you're at a point now where you're actually starting to hit those key items that you want to fight with. Voss just picked up his BKB. Dendi is 500 off his. You have the Undying with both a mech and a buckler, so it looks like we're going to see perhaps a Crimson Guard coming out here from Funnick this game, or he just wants even more armor. Crimson Guard, I think, is a really good item against Brewmaster. The 50 damage block should be really good against his copies. But
not the place he wanted to be. Super and Fenrir were just farming up his own jungle then. And he hovered himself through the tree line, but completely blind walking that way.
Super's now 7-0 as well. He's looking really good with the Vlad's Blink and 1,300 gold. The question is if it's going to be a BKB or an Axe. I think you get Axe in this game because there's only like 1 stun, right, on the Ogre. The Hexes are not even remotely close for Na'Vi if they're considering them. So the Axe would be a very nice pickup. He's also level 11 now, so should he get the Axe in the near future, he has a strong ultimate.
Ice starts farming up the Hellbears while the rest of the Na'Vi lineup was coming down on top of him. We should flag the fact that, I know it was actually pinged up by one of the other guys, that it's just a basic Ghost Scepter for the Morphling. He didn't go directly into the E-Blade, but is going to finish up his Lincoln Sphere first.
Yeah, that might be a good call here to be able to block out the only stun that can affect you, right? With that linkage, you can block the Fire Blast. Even if it multicasts, you block the entire thing, I believe, right? Yeah, you do. You block the spell cast itself, not the first instance. So Na'Vi can break it with Static Link, and with Enchant, and Ignite. I think that's it, right?
That's not a lot of abilities to control.
They have some choices. Soul Rip has a ridiculous cast range, by the way, so...
There's still a lot to control them up, and you want to be using your Soul Rip when, like, that was what kept Voss alive when they were even pushing down that tier 1 tower in the mid lane before. It's not something you just want to throw away.
No, it's definitely not. The cooldown on Soul Rip is not that long, though. On level 4, it's a 6-second one, so...
Drunken Haze, he wants to fight, but I don't think he can. Not until that BKB, he has it, but he doesn't want to use it. Even if he can get a kill while under the Aegis Immortal. Now, middle lane Ice is taking up the job of keeping that creep wave away from the tower. But Voss also coming in very, very close. They're all bloodlusted up.
Oh, Dendi with a misplay here. This is really not good for Na'Vi. He got caught out. FY force-staffed in and got the Frostbite. And Dendi used the BKB. That means he does not have it on his second life. They might just track him down here. There's the split as well. He is a goner.
And FY just had enough mana after triggered his tick charges to get that ultimate off too. They wanted Dendi down before Na'Vi could react. And Na'Vi were initially looking for a kill. Up in that middle lane.
That was the costliest thing that could happen to Na'Vi right there, apart from losing a team fight. Dendi getting caught out like that, wasting BKB, and then dying again without getting reinforcements TP'd in, that's a huge loss.
And BKB means so much more now too, considering the timer is attached to the hero. So when you get an early BKB like this, you know you can be dropping down to 5 seconds. It's not like it's a Razor who can like refresh and then use his BKB again.
So I've got a little bit of lag here. But yeah, you're right. The BKBs need to be effective here. And we were talking about, now that Na'Vi picked them up, that they should be looking for a fight. But that was not a fight.
Yeah.
He wanted to intimidate them a little, which made a lot of sense in the start when he did it with his haste rune. Then the haste rune expired. He wanted to cut over to mid, running through his own jungle. And FY with a surprise play there, really... Perhaps the biggest play of the game so far that he makes right here with the Force-Staff Frostbite. And Dendi had 2 choices. Either he dies, gets back to life, and maybe BKBs, or he BKBs first and tries to fight, which is what he did, but he didn't have the damage to threaten the 2 heroes in the bot lane for Vici, so...
Yeah,
That looks really grim for Na'Vi. This is actually, when you start looking at the golden experience now, it's starting to look grim. It's 5,000 in the gold and 7,500 XP, and that is against the lineup that we said arguably is better in the late game, even though they kind of, you could say Morphling is the only carry on the dire side and Brewmaster falls off. Timbersaw with Ags is sick.
Yeah.
That is so good, and I'm sure Ice is going to get it. Now the question is...
Does it fix his bug?
When he gets it, right? He already has the blue chakram, which is a bug. This chakram should be red.
The blue chakram is the one you get when you get your Aghanim Scepter.
So when he gets the Ags, does he get 2 blue ones? Does he get the red one back? And most importantly, does he get his cooldown indicator back? I think it's his next item. He's got a 10 charge Bloodstone. That's enough to support the double chakram.
We started again, so we're back into the game now. So tier 2 tower, it will go down on the bottom lane, and Vici Gaming, they'll get themselves away. So as we said before, big wins. But yeah, maybe EG got into Ice's computer. It's just that bleeding blue kind of thing with the double chakram blues. But we're 7-13 now on the board. And yeah, a little bit of time before we'll see the next position they want to attack, even though you're already seeing Black having himself a little bit of fun.
No, not pursuing. Managed to stop him mid-chain here.
I don't think they can kill off Ice at the moment, man. Decay is going to do very little to him. He's walking around with 10 Bloodstone charges over on this Timbersaw as well. So even if they do try and initiate and they can get close to getting the kill, Ice is still going to just suicide himself. And now with BTs as well, he's going to be everywhere across this map. And considering Black was also, he was forcing out the top lane before. He pushed for the top lane, jumps to his replicate, then pushes out the middle lane. They're keeping Na'Vi on their side of the map without access to their own jungle. And this actually has even more repercussions for heroes like Enchantress. FNG cannot build up any kind of army. And even if he does, I don't think he can do much with it.
No, at this point you want to farm the creeps rather than taking them, to be honest. It's reaching that point where Na'Vi has a solid 3-core lineup, but... Or well, I don't know if you want to call Undying a core in this sense.
I don't want to call him a core in this.
when the Enchantress and Ogre are this poor, it's really not looking good. You've got an Ogre with the lowest, or kind of, they're kind of tied with the Lich on net worth, and CM is 2,000 gold ahead of them. FY is sitting on 4 Staff Tranquils and 1,000 gold and an urn. These 2 supports on Na'Vi are food for the Brewmaster in the team fights. There's like nothing he can do. And when Black gets the E-Blade, it's free kills as well. Yep. The Enchantress will die to the burst. So.
And now the Brewmaster also has his full Aghanim Scepter up and running. Yeah, this is... Life is going to get really hard. And they can see FNG. That BT is the Timbersaw coming in. Super jumps in, and they're actually splitting up the fight. Funnick on the left. He drops down the Tombstone, keeping him away. The Chakram going through for Ice. FNG wants to keep attacking. He gets a multicast finally over on Super, while Funnick comes in, drops the ultimate, and trying to get rid of Super, but the split just ends up happening, which means the Static Link will still remain for Revost, so he's got a large amount of damage stolen, but Vici Gaming just, they're pushing the tier 2 tower. Lich just destroys that one while they keep him distracted in the middle lane. Timber Chain back in again. Vorst, he's waiting for it, the Chakram, and Vorst moves up further. The Brewmaster back to his normal self, but blinks up. There's no tier 1 tower for it to be protected by, and they just keep battling it up. Vorst, BKB triggered as well, trying to come in so deep for this kill, and Super decides just to man-mode it up, where they're committing so much kill of Super that the rest of Vici Gaming, they've mopped up the creep wave. Sure, Super will go down, but now Na'Vi looks like they're the ones who are on the dire side of the map. There's no Roshan for them to jump into, and Vici Gaming keep the control up the mid.
They got a lot of gold for that, though. 700 gold for the kill, Dendi ending that streak, and they got some good experience, too. I think that's a fairly even trade. The top tier 2 tower for Na'Vi right now is not that important.
He just got scouted out. Well, Timber chained himself away. The climb from Dendi didn't come in time. Well, effective free wave, but the Morphling now going to waveform himself over. Dendi's BKB will protect him, but that E-Blade goes to work directly on the Razor. He triggered that BKB to battle up against Super before, hence no protection. FY cannot run from Dendi as Okamajai will now DC out from the game. Vanskor ends up dropping halfway through it. But VG Gaming have lost, 3 heroes for the price of 1 in total. Super obviously dying a minute before. Or roughly that. It would be a very long death timer if that was the case.
This is a very big deal what's happening right now. The fact that Na'Vi are able to get a couple of kills here, looking in a game that's looking really grim, is taking them close to the Hex on Dendi. He's got the ultimate orb and 1,000 gold right now, so not too far away from that crucial item. Mm-hmm. Black has the Ethereal Blade, though, that he just showed off and killed off Holost with, so... I still think this game is winnable for both teams. Of course, I would still say Navi's clock is ticking way more than Vici's is. But with that fight, they might have bought themselves a couple of minutes to get some farm. You also see the way they're drawing on the map here. They're actually circling their own jungle and the top lane. They want to secure this area. They want to push out the top lane, get some more map to use. And yeah, should they be able to do that? It's still within their reach, but
it's just
still really hard.
If they're able to do that. Like Vici Gaming, okay, Super got picked up, but you committed 5 heroes to kill him off. It still took a very, very long time. That was even with the Vorse dealing about 150 bonus points of damage to try and get the Brewmaster down, while the rest of VG Gaming were farming up the mid lane and adding the pressure in towards the tier 2 tower there. Now, because there was no creep wave, obviously VG Gaming couldn't keep that pressure coming all the way in, but you're still sitting at a point going, well, this is how much Na'Vi takes to kill off one hero. What happens when you have 3 together? The 2 pickoffs they got was the Crystal Maiden and the Lich, the 2 easiest heroes out of VG Gaming that then he could chase and get kills. That is how he's going to build up momentum. He can't go, if I kill the Timbersaw and the Morphling, I'm going to gain myself some momentum. It has to come through the death of the supports.
And that's still going to get harder and harder as well. Crystal Maiden obviously has a Force Staff that didn't save her this time around. Lich is getting close to 1-2. Yep. And that means no matter who Dendy jumps on and hexes, they can actually double Force Staff that target out, unless it's one of the 2 supports, but Dendy will really not want to hex one of them. He needs to get that on a priority target. So Vici Gaming is one of those teams that are incredibly good at mid-fight making those clutch plays with Force Staff. And I think if you had to choose any support duo you would love to have 2 Force Staffs on, it would probably be these 2 guys. FY and Fenrir have exceptional awareness in team fights, and that makes it so much harder for Na'Vi. The Hex is not a direct solution, and I think in addition to the Hex, they might need, I don't know if Dendy would go for an Abyssal Blade after that, if that's overkill, to have 2 things, but...
I'm wondering if an Abyssal Blade will even get to that point. I'd almost want to say from the rest of Na'Vi's lineup that they have to buy 4 staffs to actually use on Dendy so he can keep chasing it up.
That's another possibility, yeah.
The main thing I'm thinking right now is, okay, Vici Gaming have a lineup...
They can't do that when he's PK beat, though.
That's very, very true.
So...
well, what are you going to do? You got to keep up with them somehow. Because you're going to get kited.
Pick Centaur.
You pick Centaur, yeah, but he got banned out of the last selection. And even then, that was Na'Vi that actually banned the Centaur in this game.
Yeah.
And that's what forced out the Timbersaw pickup, but it ended up working even better for VG Gaming. Like, not only one do you get, like, a hero which is perfect for escaping out from a guy who doesn't have a stun. So it's like, well, you can start attacking me, but there's still going to be that Timber Chain away. And he's insanely tanky, buffs up on that, not a problem at all. And you block out the perfect hero, which probably Na'Vi was searching for, but they couldn't do that anyway. I'm still interested to see what Na'Vi's initial goal was here. I'm hoping Sir Action Slacks asked them this question. What was the goal in Game 1 with the Ogre and the Enchantress? How are these guys meant to function and make sure that Undying Razor as well as the Ursa were capable of coming up? Was it just purely, we want Roshan? Because doing that when you're on the Radiant side, I know with the changes to the pit, it's a lot more difficult, but you can see Vici Gaming, they're able to work around that area and still find some good points. I think Timbersaw was actually being really efficient with his trees that he kept up on the high ground, because he was going up and down the entire time when they weren't respawning.
And I guess you can also say, if it was Roshan Na'Vi wanted, how crucial was the Ogre to that plan?
Yeah, yeah.
Enchantress, I can see, because she wants to take the creeps early on to tank Roshan, to give vision, control the area, but... Was the Ogre that good for this particular game and
like
this particular
if you had
plan?
someone like Disruptor, for example, then you'd actually get like a lockdown control. You'd have a glimpse back. You have something that can keep them next to the Ursa Warrior. That's the primary thing you needed from your supports in this game, but you don't get that.
Difficult to say what the plan was, because the Ogre was the 3rd pick. So it's hard to theory craft on that, because Na'Vi will obviously adapt during the draft, and the Ogre was not the last pick. Yeah. But if let's imagine the Ogre was the last pick, right?
Okay.
What does Ogre do very well in this game in comparison to any sort of teamfight support, like a Sand King, like an Earthshaker, like a Disruptor, like you said?
They all do exactly the same kind of thing, except he misses the initiation part like SK has.
He has a single target, which is great, but if there's one thing Na'Vi are lacking in teamfights, it's control. They don't have any control over the fights. They can get kited around. They don't have any sort of, they have no damage that's really significant apart from Dendy. That's kind of the issue they have right now. But I mean, for the early game, I can totally understand Enchantress Ogre as a roaming duo, but just didn't work. And I still think that was the plan, right? We gank early on, we get a couple of kills on the lanes, then we take Roche, then we take towers, which is classic Na'Vi style, but at this point in the game, with what the Ogre has done in this game, I think there could have been better choices, but that was obviously not what they set out for in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. So just getting, I don't say even lost along the way, because you could have gone down another line too and looked at like an off lane, like the aggro kind of tri lane. That's where Undying gains a lot of strength, is when you can manage to group like 2 or 3 heroes together. But if they did that and VG Gaming just ran their dual lanes, they kind of get screwed on that front too. Because you can't you can't run an aggro tri lane up against like a passive dual lane. Especially one where if you get like one kill, you go, oh, that's kind of okay. If you keep killing them over and over again, then that's absolutely fantastic. But Ogre Magi—it's not really known for his intelligence level. He doesn't have a lot of mana behind him. So casting off like blast after blast after blast isn't going to be there. And the Enchantress, she's still like restricted to the creeps. And maybe that was another thing which kind of went wrong for Na'Vi. The Enchantress came up looking for a creep. She finds a Hellbear, then she finds an Alpha Wolf.
Yeah.
What are you really going to do with those? You want a Dark Troll Summoner or you want a Centaur? You want your controlling heroes.
I'm still puzzled by how Na'Vi approached the game right from the start. Like, I like the way they put their lanes. I think that was a cool idea. But the first 2 smoke ganks were so unlikely to be successful. That was kind of a waste of time.
Well, the first one lasted like 0.5 a second. Yeah.
They smoked on level 1 without an Enchantress creep. And they smoked so early that even had they got a creep, I think the time they would have been there with the heroes, the smoke would have almost expired anyway. And then secondly, the time when they smoked gank to go mid was the worst possible timing because all of like the Vici mid lane was at their tier 1 tower. And that's not when you gank a Morphling Lich lane. So
here's a concept for the first smoke gank. Maybe the first smoke gank wasn't meant to actually get them a kill. Maybe the first smoke gank was for them to get into the die jungle.
That's possible. But then it was still a really early time to smoke. They still smoked around their own
and up against a player like ISIS. Like ISIS is always going to be over-aggressive in his lane. This is the kind of player he is. And he'll come over and check every single time to see what's going on with the creeps, what's going on with the positioning. He's a Timbersaw. He's going to have enough confidence. And ISIS, it's like, this guy has like droves of confidence.
Yeah,
he'll just walk,
he's not lacking in that.
He'll just walk in there and go, I have Timber Chain. You can't keep up with me. Your first stun is thrown, and you can't control me after that point. So why should I care coming into your jungle if you can kill me off or not? Get all the vision you want, do all the scouting you want, and you're good to go.
And it still is kind of crazy, right? We're in a 27-minute game, and we're talking about what happened in the first 2 minutes. But that's Enchantress Ogre for you right there.
Yeah.
These 2 heroes, without early success, they get put in the position they are right now.
Yep.
And I would be more okay with the Ogre if the Bloodlust was better for them. Because it's like, okay, even if you don't do that well with the hero in your particular game, the Bloodlust, if you have like Lone Druid or, you know, a Morphling on your team who doesn't go BKB, whatever, like anyone who can really put that Bloodlust to a lot of use, then you could say, okay, it's actually fine that one of our supports is behind because he makes our cores 20% better each, right?
Yeah.
Then it's okay. But in this particular game, Bloodlust on Undying is utterly useless. That hero has like no synergy with it. The move speed is okay. If you've decayed 100 times, you hit hard, but is that really going to happen?
With this lineup, I don't think you can decay 100 times in order to get, well, 1, because it's not possible, and then 2, because Vici Gaming will burst damage you down before you're capable of doing it.
Oh, we're
going to go again. We've got everyone back inside the game, so our pause can finally come to an end. And we'll get ourselves straight back into the action. I say back into the action, it's back into the farming. So this is after we went 3 for 1, super dying underneath the tier 1 tower, then the 2 support trade-off for the Razor who had no BKB to protect himself from the first reveal of the E-Blade. That is the position we're in this game.
Well, Funnick is going to pick up a Vanguard as well, so the Crimson Guard is only a few hundred gold away. I don't even remember what that costs, the recipe. How much is that? 825, so he's 400 off. This is a very new item. Pardon me. Do you feel like Crimson Guard is that good here? I mean, I was saying it's good against Brewmaster, I think. When you look at the rest of Vici's heroes, it's Spellburst. It's Lich with Chain Frost. It's the Chakram from Timbersaw. It's all of his, like, the pure damage and the magic damage. He has the Morphling with E-Blade. I'm wondering what Funnick's thought process is here of choosing Crimson Guard over a Pipe. It just seems like a flat-out better choice against Vici's lineup to me.
Yeah, agreed. Maybe it was just part of this game plan from the very, very start, but like the game plan with the Crimson Guard, what are you really going to get from it? Like, whose damage are you really going to stop? And is your regeneration really worth it as well?
Ah, damn. Ice isn't getting the eggs. He's got a plate mail. I love playing Timbersaw with that and seeing it in play. It's such an... It's one of the most entertaining axe upgrades for me.
In this game, the Shiva's Guard is the perfect choice, though.
Yeah,
like,
it's really
you already got a lineup which is kiting him out. If you trigger a Shiva's Guard in the middle of this engagement too, it's going to be, again, we get back to that point. It almost feels like the old classic Broodmothers who were forced by like Blink Daggers so they can keep up with heroes. Like, it kind of feels like that. It's the ultimate just kiting. And Na'Vi, they can't force the issue because they don't have heroes to do that. Like, if you had something like a Bat Rider who could blink glance through and then force VG Gaming to initiate, then that's a different thing. Now, Ice, he goes on a boss. He's out a little bit too far, and they're baiting him to come out because the 4-star down from FY.
Yes,
They're going to
BKB.
Frost Blast, and there's the BKB away to safety. But he didn't want a BKB for that one. FY TP's out, realizing some kind of collateral kill that could come their way. Ice knows he's 100% fine. And you got VG Gaming now that have forced a BKB out from Havost. You've got TP support coming in, but, well, the Tornado is going to try and come over and scout, but this Wild Wing's not going to survive long enough, and they're probably going to be too late to the party. This is going to be Aegis, this is going to be Cheese.
Such a good play from Ice.
Unless they're quick, they're going to be quick.
Right
the
here.
Plaza Field's going to show it off. Roshan, he's down. The Aegis is going to be picked up by Black. He'll actually drop the Cheese onto the deck. The Bruma Split's already gone. The Lich Holding bouncing around. It's back into a force. There's only creeps to heroes to actually hit here. And Denny's trying to battle up, but all he's getting is Brewlings at the moment. The Enchantress will die as well. FY backed himself up. They do bring down every single Brewling, but they lose too many heroes for this Vanscore being locked down. Funnick goes inside the pit. He'll TP out, but he's the sole survivor of the Na'Vi. Lost Aegis, and they lost the Cheese in this.
How much space can you make with one hero by Ice right there? That's like, he just... So they forced out a BKB. He then distracted them in the jungle for a good 15 or 20 seconds, and then he has great teamfight presence afterwards. This is just beautiful Timbersaw play right here, and the rest of the team fight, the way it collapsed on Na'Vi, they didn't stand a chance. When they get in on those terms, they cannot win the fight. No. It's just impossible. So excellent chain frost, good chaining of stuns from Vici to make it bounce a lot of times.
How quick did the supports get out too?
Yeah.
Like they got in there, they cast their abilities and then got straight back out again. That's why they didn't have as many casualties as their mid-fight. And now Black is just enjoying attacking. FNG goes down, he jumps out to Replicate. This is the shotgun morphling. This is why you can't come close anymore. Even if the combination isn't as swift as it used to be, they're still very, very efficient from Black.
He's going to get a tier 2 tower to boot as well. I don't see Na'Vi stopping this morphling right now. He has the Aegis and the Cheese. Like, getting one of them out of him is going to be hard. First of all, well, they're going to get the Ignite through. Doing some decent damage here. Oh, FY's in quite a bit of trouble here.
He's got 4-staff and TP out.
Double.
They just 4-staff him again just in case Vanscore to stun again. But Vanscore, he doesn't have mana. And Ice playing around with Denny from behind. Ice also very low on mana himself. And they're just going to retreat back out again. There's actually a Yasha coming in for Black on that courier.
Oh, Super doesn't have BK, doesn't have his ult yet.
There's 7 seconds. He's got to survive 7 seconds. The Drunken Haze on Dendy. He's got to connect.
4, 3,
2 seconds. 1 second. Has he got enough time? No, he does not. They'll get the kill. Black will actually jump out to a Replicate, which is up on the top lane. Ice is still, I don't think, fully done here in the mid lane. He's got support coming in from both the Lich as well as the Crystal Maiden. But Na'Vi will, well, are they considering going back in again?
I think Super thought he had his ultimate ready.
He blinked in the pipe, he was like, oh, uh-oh.
It tries to run out, but...
Can't see his cooldown timer again. Maybe the bug is still here.
It's only for Timbersaw, for whatever reason.
Black said there was also one for him too. He couldn't see his cooldown timer.
Okay.
I don't know if it will actually spill over to the Brewmaster. It's got to start counting inside the head, be like a Quake player.
Just look in the top of your screen and look whether your diamond is green or black to see if you have ultimate. I mean, that's one way of doing it, right?
Maybe.
Well, Vici Gaming, they lose a little bit of time here. I don't think it's the biggest deal. They're still controlling the map very well. If you look at the aggressive warding here, they've completely locked down the Radiant jungle here. One ward in the mid lane, one ward in the new ward spot here in the top. This ward spot is really just gives incredible protection.
FNG's not going to be too happy about this. Divorce. He got a very short static link off. The Frost Armor's being applied by Fenrir, but it's not over on Ice. If they force stuff into a Frostbite, then they can have a crack at Divorce, but he's still got BKB. This BKB is only a 7-second duration, but BKB is still there. But they're distracting him. This is all smoke and mirrors. Black and Super, they want the tier 2 tower in mid. So Ice is over-aggressive on the bottom lane to try and take their attention away. But now FNG, clap destroyed.
What FNG?
No FNG, man. Now on bottom lane, looks like they actually caught out a Voss. 4-staff up from FY, it's going to break that static link over on him, but that's the BKB down again, and Avors is worn off. Support's coming in from Vanscore at the moment. He'll start over an Ice, but this guy, he's just so damn tanky, and the supports arrive from Black. Ursa will attack him pretty heavily, but they got the Ogre-Mashai down. The Aegis Immortal, that's all that's lost. It was already on a 2-minute cooldown. Denny will be forced back by the Chain Frost. Black the World, the Living again. E-Blade is actually off cooldown right now. The Bruma Split's already gone. This has to get dying back up
just
again.
Kill Havost right now.
He's looking at him. There's the hit. Double kill for Black. It just seemed to be way too easy. Divorce overstaying is welcome. Ice. It's like he's walking past Funnick to just go straight for Dendy. But Dendy's back up to the high ground away to safety as, whoops. Out we go again.
And this one is a problem if we can't reconnect and pause.
Because it's smack bang in the middle of the engagement.
That was quite a lot happening right before that.
Yeah. What the timing on it? We actually can launch at the 33-minute mark, but at the same time, you've missed out on the follow-up kills. That's Black when he had his Aegis Immortal triggered. So that I don't know if your mid Aegis trigger, if that would actually cause a major problem. I've never actually been in that situation on the load.
Oh, I don't think that's... Yeah, well, that's extremely unlikely as well. The timing of that load when that has to be.
Within that, like, 2-3 second period. No. So we'll try and reconnect back in again. In fact, we are back inside the lobby.
I think Vici only lost like 5 seconds. I think they're going to play on from this one.
Yeah.
They haven't run that far back. It's not like 2 minutes like last time when they were back in the fountain.
And I don't think they'll be sitting there saying, well, we're going to miss out on a whole bunch of kills, because they already took the primary kills they were searching for. So this will just be a turnaround.
Click the Dire Courier.
It has the cheese on it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, never mind. I'm confusing myself. So, everyone's reconnected.
Yep.
We're going to go again.
And both the teams agree that we just launched. So we're already back inside the game, and we'll just keep battling it on. So the Na'Vi lineup, well, is VG Gaming really going to feel good to go up there? They do have the Brewmaster ulti on cooldown now. There's no Chain Frost. There's no pressure for them as well to go high ground. I guess also they're battling up against the potential clock from before.
No, they're looking in really good shape right now. And when we're approaching this late game and Black starts getting this many items...
He saw the TP coming in. He loses half of his life points to Ice. Actually, now he's up to like 16 points of reactive armor.
They can't kill this Timbersaw. I don't... Like, they have to commit absolutely everything to it. It's not possible in a team fight. I think Ice can play like he wants, basically, in team fights. They have so much control. They have 4 staffs for him. He has 2,100 health with like 260 armor. And like, what do you do? Like, I think his armor right there was like 35 when he had the reactive armor stack.
And when he also has like frost armor also on top of him.
Oh yeah, that's true. Frost armor too. And
they're gonna have a crack. They're gonna actually try and do it. So let's see if they have enough. Danny's already been slowed down. He'll chain himself away, and then Ice have used their stun. There's no multicast to hold him there. And Dandy, he's actually almost dying at the moment. Just from chakram damage, whirling death, and the chains away. And while Dandy is injured, they come high ground. Now, FNG's already tried, well, actually, they tried to trigger off that. Actually, they did the Lincoln Sphere. The super, 1 second, the splits off cooldown. He'll just go for Funnick. He's the lowest down there. Vanscore, actually, he's the primary target. Slowing him down, Black him, no E-Blade available, and Denny beating into Black, but Black still got this cheese available. The Lich holding, again, it's going to be taken out of play by Dendy. The Vanscore being controlled by this Brewmaster ulti is still not enough. It is not enough to breach it, but Vanscore, he comes back in again. There's a pause. There is a pause. Vanscore's down to 200 life points right now.
And the crowd goes wild.
I hope Cuddle Guy's in the audience right now. I really hope Cuddle Guy's in the audience right now.
Yeah, I hope he's wearing his costume as well.
First cosplay to hit that house in a long time.
Oh, damn. Oh.
Promises fulfilled. So, again, though, we're at a point where you see Dendy. It's actually kind of surprising that VG Gaming still stayed as close to Dendy as he did. Like, he put a lot of time in. Like, you have that quick damage coming out. Like, you go in, you start your attack up, you got your quick swipes to come in, and in that period of time, Black went down by 2/3 of his life points. He waveforms out, and then the damage just isn't there anymore. There's no Fury swipe stacks over on anybody. Yeah. It's just really troublesome across the board for Na'Vi when that kind of damage isn't there. Now we're starting again. Get back into the game right now. The waveform down. Vanscore's going to drop. Denny's already triggered the BKB up the moment. They just go in deep, but they're looking for super. 4-staff down, and he doesn't. Well, he's already finished his split.
Na'Vi has to try and chase a little bit here, I think. But I don't know if they can. No, they can't manage. They'll never catch up to this.
They at least hold their high ground for now, even though that courier is getting scouted out a little bit. And it triggered the fact that it actually scouted the fact that Dendy now has a Scythe of Ice available. So
that's the biggest pickup of his head all game.
And they're going to find FY if he blinks up, but we've got heroes missing again. So another disconnection out. Hilariously enough, I stay in this time around.
I think we're like taking turns at who gets to stay in the game.
Well, as long as we stay in and the game doesn't get GG'd out, then we're good for this. This is, yeah, everyone's coming straight back into the game again. Everyone is, in fact, in. It's the plague of the Dota scene right now. It is the plague of the Dota scene. Literally killing esports.
Okay, I'm dead.
I don't think Force actually is he? Is BKB's off cooldown?
If Black's a good sport, he lets him run now. Even if he, I don't know if Black can burst him in one combo here. It's pretty close.
At the same time, though, I don't think he can because Denny's there with a Blink Dagger as well as Scythe. So if Black initiates here, he could lose his own life points because the E-Blade won't protect him.
Quost has to break the Lincolns with a static link first, then, which is totally possible. So it would be a really cheeky play from Quost if he's like, please don't kill me, and then they just turn and kill Black.
Back to game. Black, he just pops him out and retreats. As FY, I don't think he's done right now. He wants to have a crack at him. Nova very much out of range from FY.
Looked like FY didn't catch the memo there with the mercy. Like, no mercy.
There is no mercy ever granted, man. Like, it's... You just put that thumb down as Caesar. But for now, Na'Vi, they just try and get themselves back on top, back on their feet. FNG's still trying to build into this Aghanim Scepter. He's been working on this for a while now. And he actually built, he earned himself a casual cloak. So he has himself a cloak over on this Enchantress. Well, we're actually selling a second
so far behind. This is such an awful position to be in as Enchantress. She has the potential to farm fairly well if you focus a lot on it early on, but they focused on the roaming and has never been able to recover. It's a very poor Enchantress we're seeing in this game. The Ogre, same kind of story. Looks like Funnick is building towards a Hex, like I was imagining he would in this game. He's got the ulti orb now. And for me, it's the only chance Na'Vi have is Scythes of Ice. There is no other alternative.
They're gonna have a crack. The smoke's gonna break right now, reveals the boss, and Denny just jumps them over. He's able to actually interrupt Ice, but the chain's still gonna pull him out, and then the Brewmaster split. The Raids have died so quickly. He had the DD room from the start of this. I think that's actually almost GG right now. The Undying's gonna drop to the deck at the moment, and he's losing every bit of life points he's got. That was a 5-man group bump smoke. They needed that to get 2 hero pick off to buy themselves some space. But now with the 4 heroes gone, that's 6.1k in the experience, man, and probably a Rax to boot.
And Isis has his cooldowns now on his chakra. He has both of them now. Now he got a red one. So apparently the blue one, the cosmetic at least for it, is part of his set, the Timber Thaw set. But I don't know if that was supposed to make the icon blue, because now we got a second one that's red, so that's a little weird. I don't think that has a custom icon.
Either way, you can get baffled, but yeah, Aghanim Scepter is going to be there, and that's also going to be mid-ranks completely gone. The bottom ranks will be chipped away. Raises back up again in 15 seconds time, but at the same time, Vici Gaming is so far ahead now that it doesn't really matter.
Roshan responds in 2 minutes, so in 6.
Hit the pause button. I don't know if you can actually do that. No, you can't.
Okay.
Broadcasters have no control.
Where is that?
But that is sitting at a point right now where it is practically GG. So I don't know if Na'Vi is going to call that one or not. But you're down 2 Raxes. You just lost a huge fight in that mid lane, and it was their only chance. It was their only chance. But the problem was the Dire Creep Wave was coming at the perfect time, and Vici Gaming were posturing. They're being a little over-aggressive, coming into the tree line, so they were in range. So when the smoke broke, they had all the knowledge possible, and then he did the only thing he could do then. He realized, okay, the smoke's broken, they have to be on the other side of the tree line, we just go YOLO.
Yeah, and then it was the fact that they opened on Timbersaw, which is the worst possible target. They hex him, that's great.
You couldn't choose his target.
No.
That was the problem. You jump in blind like that, you can't just say, oh, well, now I'll go this one. And there was no prep warding, there was no nothing like that. It was just a blind smoke, roll of the dice, and hope you come out on top. So it actually... I'm being told we're actually going to a short break here, so I don't know if that means the game has been... It is actually GG. Okay, so we have heard it is Na'Vi have called GG. Vici Gaming take the first game. So we're going to a short break and we'll come back here with the panel and game number 2.